Emeka leaned against his battered taxi, staring at the fuel gauge stuck on empty. Another long day in the unforgiving streets of Accra had yielded barely enough for dinner. His rent was overdue, and his landlord's threats were growing more vicious. Yet, as night fell and the city's noise dulled to a hush, he climbed into the driver's seat, whispering a quiet prayer. Just one more passenger, Lord. Just one more. Just as he was about to switch off the ignition, a woman banged on his window, panting heavily. "Please, hospital," she gasped, one hand cradling her swollen belly, the other gripping the door handle. "I don't have money, but please help me." Emeka hesitated. His last cash was for fuel, but something in her eyes, raw desperation, the shadow of death, spoke to him. He twisted the key, shifted into gear, and sped into the night. The woman, barely coherent, screamed as another contraction tore through her body. "Hold on!" Emeka shouted, navigating potholes and dodging trotro drivers. Sweat beaded down his face, not from fear of the mess in his car, but from fear she wouldn't make it. A sharp cry pierced the air as her water broke right there on the torn back seat. Blood soaked through the fabric. "We're close!" Emeka yelled again, running a red light. A police siren blared behind him, but he didn't stop. In that moment, it wasn't about the law. It was about life. By the time they skidded into the emergency bay, nurses were already rushing with a stretcher. Emeka climbed out slowly, heart pounding. "Will she be okay?" he asked. No one answered. Emeka waited for hours, pacing the hospital corridor, afraid to leave. His car was filthy, his stomach empty, but something inside wouldn't let him walk away. A nurse finally came out. "She's stable," she said. "Baby's alive, too." Relief washed over him like rain in Harmattan. He smiled for the first time in days. But when he returned the next morning to check on her, the nurse frowned. "She's gone." Emeka blinked. "Gone." Discharged herself early. Left no name, no number, nothing. Just like that, she vanished. All that remained was a memory and a bloodstain on his backseat. 3 years passed. Emeka's life didn't change much. He fixed the car himself when it broke down, ate banka once a day if lucky, and kept driving. Sometimes, late at night, he'd glance at the spot where her water broke. He never cleaned it entirely. He tried not to wonder what happened to her, the mother, the baby, whether they were alive or safe. But on quiet nights, when no passengers flagged him down, he prayed again. "If I did one good thing in this world, let it count for something." It was just after dawn when Emeka's old Nokia rang. Unknown number. He considered ignoring it. Likely another wrong number. But something urged him to pick up. "Mr. Emeka," a crisp voice said, "you've been summoned to Tando and Associates law firm in OSU. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. It's urgent." His heart thudded. "Law firm? Why? I haven't done anything." "You're not in trouble," the voice said gently. "Just come. You'll understand." For the rest of the day, Emeka was restless. Why would a big law firm want someone like him? The next morning, Emeka scrubbed himself clean, borrowed a faded shirt from his neighbor, and walked into a marble-tiled office that smelled of power and polish. "Mr. Emeka?" a receptionist asked. "Please wait inside." He entered the boardroom, knees shaking, and sat across from a lawyer in a sharp suit. A door creaked open. A woman in red heels stepped in. She was radiant, commanding, and familiar. His heart skipped. "You," he whispered, her eyes filled with tears. "You didn't know my name," she said, voice trembling, "but I never forgot yours." "My name is Ada Okoye," she said. "I'm a corporate lawyer now and the mother of the baby you saved." Her voice broke. "I was abandoned, alone. That night I had nothing. You gave everything." She pulled out a worn diary. "I made a promise to never forget you, to honor your kindness." She slid an envelope across the table. "This is the deed to a house in East Legon, and ownership documents for a fleet of 6 taxis. They're all in your name." Emeka sat frozen. "Why me?" he whispered. "Because without you, my child and I wouldn't be here." Emeka tried to stand, but his legs gave way. Tears welled up in his eyes. "I don't deserve this," he said, choking back sobs. Adora rushed to his side, helping him sit. "You do," she whispered. "You gave us life." He took the documents with trembling hands, the weight of the gesture crashing into him like a wave. For years, he'd been overlooked, forgotten by the world, but not by her, not by the one life he saved. Back at his tiny room in Nima, Emeka laid the papers on the floor and stared at the cracked ceiling. He hadn't cried this much since his mother's funeral. Outside, children ran barefoot in the alley, the smell of frying plantains wafting in. He opened the window and whispered, "Mama, I made it." The room had never felt smaller. He was no longer that forgotten taxi driver. Tomorrow, he'd have a new beginning. Instead of moving into the house immediately, Emeka did something unexpected. He gave away his old taxi to a struggling driver named Kojo. "Use it to feed your family," he said. Then he hired 2 single mothers to manage the new taxis. The newspapers picked up his story, from broke driver to angel investor. But Emeka shrugged it off. "It's not about me," he told reporters. "It's about what we do with second chances." One Sunday, Emeka was invited to a private birthday party in a lush garden. It was for Adaora's son, now a bright-eyed 5-year-old named Chukwuma. As the boy ran into Emeka's arms, Adaora watched silently. "I told him," she said, "about the taxi driver who became our miracle." Emeka held the boy close, his heart overflowing. "Uncle Emeka," Chukwuma beamed. "Mummy says you're our guardian angel." In that moment, Emeka knew this was his family now. Emeka now lived in his new home, and the taxi fleet was growing. He never stopped driving. Just once a week, for the joy of it, he kept one taxi for himself, a reminder where he came from. One night, a young woman flagged him down. "Please, I don't have money, but I need help." Emeka smiled softly. "Get in," he said. "You're safe now." As he drove into the city lights, he whispered a quiet prayer, this time of thanks, for a ride that changed everything. Months passed, and Emeka's name began to travel further than he ever drove. With Adaora's guidance, he established the Ride of Hope Foundation, a nonprofit offering emergency transport for pregnant women in low-income areas. "No woman should have to beg for a ride to save her baby," he said at the launch, standing beside Adaora, who teared up with pride. They began training volunteer drivers and outfitting old taxis with basic medical kits. Donations poured in not just from Accra, but from Ghanaians abroad who had read his story. One day, an elderly midwife approached him during a fundraiser. "You may not remember me," she said, "but I was in the hospital the night you brought her in. We almost lost them both. If you had delayed 5 minutes," her voice cracked, "God used you, son." Emeka bowed his head, overcome by a quiet humility that no amount of money could replace. Late one evening, Emeka decided to finally deep clean the very taxi where it all began. As he pulled up the stained back seat, a thin envelope slipped out and fluttered to the ground. He stared at it. His name was scrawled on the front, in a familiar, hurried hand. Inside was a note. "If I don't make it and you find this, thank you. You didn't know me, but you saved me. If this child lives, I'll tell him one day about the stranger who refused to let us die in the dark. I owe you everything." His hands trembled as he read. It was Adaora's handwriting, written the night she believed she wouldn't survive. A sob escaped his throat as he pressed the letter to his chest. That note, lost for years, was more than paper. It was proof of a moment that had rippled through time. And for the first time, Emeka truly believed even a single act of kindness can echo forever. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. What lessons did you learn from this story? Kindly comment your thoughts, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more stories like this.